And we are live in Underground Wicked Radio with the Lizardman and Muck Sticky crossover.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
So excited about this. I've been so stoked.
Yeah, this is fun, man.
So Eric, man, Easy 606. I'm gonna let you take. Oh, we got two Erics in here. I better not do that.
Yeah. Every time you say it, I'm just kind of like, no, he's not called. Nobody calls me that, so
Yeah.
Easy.
You're not talking to me.
I'm sure he probably gets called Lizard Man most of the time too, right?
Yeah. That's what I usually go with. If there's more than one Eric in the room, I'm just like, they got to be talking to him.
Exactly. Like nobody knows my real name unless you're on Facebook. That's the only way you know my real name.
Right.
Take a question, homie. I'll start sharing.
Oh, okay. Well, hell, I'm gonna ask you both the same question to start out with. So we'll start.
All right.
We'll start with the lizard there.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who might be watching that may not know, who is the Lizard Man?
Who is the Lizard Man? Well, I am a professional freak, a modern-day modified Marvel tattooed from head to toe, top to bottom, face included. But my tattoo is just the beginning because I've also got horned ridges over my eyes, 5 pieces of Teflon, surgically implanted during a 6-hour procedure without anesthetic. My teeth have been filed down to points, and my tongue was split in two, bifurcated with a biopsy laser in 1997 using a procedure that I helped to design.
Wow.
I see a lot of people following in that nowadays. I see a lot of people talking about wanting to do it also.
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, there's always going to be people who talk and want to do it. I'd say, the people that talk about wanting to do it versus the number that follow through is a pretty small percentage. But there's easily a few thousand people worldwide with split tongues now.
Yeah, there's a fan of mine who she models as well, but she has her split now.
Christina Kruger.
No, well, her too, but there's another one too. So actually, that's two.
Yep. Oh. It's funny too because I talk about it like now. I can remember as it happened very quickly. So 1997, I go to an oral surgeon with this idea of how we could do the procedure, and he eventually says yes, he'll do it, and he'll do it to me. Once I made that public, I became like a conduit. I started introducing people to the doctor. Some of them even stayed at my old apartment in Albany, New York, which is where he was located. And so it went from like in July of 1997 when I got mine split, I was the second verified successful tongue splitting in the history of the world. There's a woman in California that did it first by tying off with monofilament, and then I did mine with surgery. So we're the two first. By the end of 97, there's 5. And, the other 3 are people who went to the doctor through me. And in the next year, it probably got up to about a dozen. And then I want to say like 2000, 2001, you started to have more and more people offering to do it. So it became more accessible to people. And then it really started to take off. The old Body Modification e-zine, which was an online magazine for body modification that I used to write for and was founded by a friend of mine who's one of the people. He was the second surgical tongue splitting. You can see the pictures of volumes coming in because it started off, back in 96, even it was just an urban legend. People would say, oh, I've heard of that, or oh, I've seen it, or somebody told me they saw it once, but you never actually find any verification. In 97, we get confirmation of Dustin Allowers, the woman who did it first. And then in July of 97, me doing it. And then like I say, over the next couple of years, it just starts to grow exponentially until now, pretty much anywhere in the world that you are, if you want to get your tongue split, there's a professional available.
I can only imagine, especially in 97, how things were then to where they are now. I can only imagine the looks that you got.
It's when you say that, the thing that pops in my head is very weird is that, I thought when I called this up, because it's like it's 97, right? I didn't go on the internet and find a doctor. I got out the yellow pages.
Oh yeah, the internet wasn't even really the internet then.
I mean, I was online because I was a geek. I was a nerd, been building his own computer since 1989. But I was online, but I was like, for reference, no. I went to the yellow pages. The doctor I went to is Dr. Buccino. B. He was at the top of the list, right? Alphabetical order, man. That's how I ended up in his office. And you would think, like, you say, oh, back then they must have been like, oh, the looks you give me like that. he was an open-minded, cool dude. He was, everything a medical professional should be. He was a professional, and all he cared about was were I going to be safe if we did it or not? He had to evaluate me kind of, mentally as basically, is this guy crazy? Whatever. He talked to me about why I wanted to do it. We had a lot of great talks. We became friends. I did a Zoom recording for his retirement a couple of years ago for a big party his son threw for him, and told him, like, look, we made history together, and he was a great guy. And now I think, I look around, I look at the medical community now. My wife is a nurse for over a decade, but seeing it, and I think maybe it's gotten a little bit harder for somebody that wants to go and get something that's non-traditional. If we're talking about like where tongue splitting has gone, like early days of tongue splitting, all being done by a qualified surgeon. Now you've got people who, they're my friends and I respect their abilities, but at the end of the day, they're just not medical professionals. They're people who figured out how to do it.
Awesome. Well, Muck Sticky, same question. Who's Muck Sticky besides the blunt smoker of the year?
Man, I'm a raw joint smoker, man. That's like my main thing, man.
I see you do a lot of raw stuff.
Yeah, man. They started treating me really good back about a year or so ago. They started sending me all kinds of cool stuff. I've smoked their products for, I don't know, 15, 17 years, something like that. The first time I went to the Cannabis Cup, and to answer your question, I'm a music making, pajama wearing, life loving, fun guy who has made 17 albums and done I've worn pajama pants every single day. For this coming Monday is going to be my 8,000th consecutive day of wearing pajama pants every single day as my personal and professional attire.
God damn.
And this Monday, actually, I'm making an announcement that's about the biggest thing I've ever done in my entire career. I've got a project coming that is the biggest thing I've ever done. So that's where I'm at now. But
I can't wait to hear about that.
Pretty stoked.
With the pajama pants, I could only assume, do you have your own pajama pant line?
Oh yes, multiple lines of pajamas. We've had those since about 2015. You can go to the link in just about any one of my bios on social media or at my website, mucksticky.com, and find all kinds of cool, colorful clothes. That's what I
say. You got to watch him unbox a package from Raw. That's fun. Like, if you want to see what Muck Sticky looks like, it's like he's like a kid at Christmas every single time he opens one of those packages on the video.
Christmas every months throughout the year. I was gonna say something when you were talking a minute ago, when they were saying you probably got all kinds of looks, and your doctor was pretty open-minded about it. It made me think about how much more open-minded the 90s were. Like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's actually not gone in the right direction, that particular aspect of it. Other things have gotten better, but in that one, we seem to have pulled back a little.
Probably get more looks now than back then. I remember when we first met, I went out on tour as Saliva's roadie, and it was the Jägermeister tour in 2002. Yep. And my first night was in Atlanta. I think the Masquerade was the venue.
Exactly.
I will never forget that night as long as I live. Because I get there and I go in, and I think you were hosting, so like the show had maybe just started or it was about to start, and you had Cricket the lizard and the snake, and you were putting her up
my nose,
putting up your nose, coming out your mouth. You were doing the thing where you would like. You put Powerade, and people would put
the stomach pump,
all kinds of fucking crazy shit, spit in it, and then you'd pump it down through your nose into your stomach, and then pull it back out, and then fucking pour it in a cup and drink it, dude. It was the wildest shit. And you hung yourself from the fucking back.
We did that in Dallas, yeah.
Dude, that was like the first. I don't know if you did it that night, but I remember seeing you and just being like, holy shit, what have I gotten myself into? This is fucking unreal. I was young.
Yeah, that's the way it was back then.
Young.
Because nobody had seen that shit for decades, and then it was like, so yeah, it was amazing. And that's what a lot of people nowadays ask about, like, and especially like back in my days with Jim Rose and before that and everything, is people are always like, oh, how did what was different? What's different? Like, what's different now is it's not the first time anymore. You can only you only get so many shots at virgins.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, you're right. I feel like for most of us who lived through the 90s and those times, we aren't really shocked by much anymore. I mean, remember Jane's Addiction album, Nothing Shocking? I mean, we were already so shocked at that point that, like, nothing really bothered you anymore. And I feel like what we were talking about a minute ago, people have come back around again to where everybody's shocked and offended these days by things,
Oh, so, that's the cancel culture.
I think it kind of goes in cycles for some reason.
Right. Well, we got to the point where we got enough people got jaded to where, okay, so nobody gives a fuck. But then a new crop of people the kids got older, right? And then they stopped. And now we're starting to look at kids and see this stuff for the first time. And we're feeling like, dude, this shit's been going on forever. Yeah, what are you talking about? That's normal shit. And they're like, I've never seen this before. They're like, oh, well, buckle up.
Exactly.
If they could go back in a time capsule and relive the 90s and just see what we experienced.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of people forget, too, like, there was a time when it was your first time. So that's what gets me, especially, like, for me, sideshow-wise, the way that I see it, is people who've come to the show a bunch of times and be like, oh man, I love when you do this, watch this. But I remember, if I know them, I'll remember. I remember your first time when you didn't watch the whole show. I remember when your hands were going up, that, like, that used to be you. Now you're making fun of that person. There's almost a little bit of gatekeeping there,
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, for me, the first time I had been, in and out of the rock and roll world a little bit, but this was my first full, like, all right, I'm sticking with this thing. And, we, I think it was like 6 weeks we were on that tour or something like that. And after
about right,
in it for a month and a half, like, I kind of became accustomed to it, if you will.
Oh, yeah. It's what, I guess the old joke with the old line is, it's amazing what you can get used to. But it's like, all of a sudden, like, if it's your first time out on tour and you've never lived that life before, especially like a big true national tour where you've got, your caravan of buses and everybody's partying and it's a new city every day, and you do it like your first week, it's like, oh, it's weird that I'm fucking partying at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday and there's just been a bunch of naked people running around and all the stupid things happen on tour. But that happens every day. Yeah. And it's like, but within a couple of weeks, you're just like, yeah, of course we're doing this, but it's Monday. Well, that doesn't mean shit to us. Day of the week doesn't matter. It's a party every day.
Like what it's your office gig. It's the same. We're most, especially I came out as a roadie. I wasn't a rock star. Rock stars have a little bit more of a, as a musician now, I have a little bit more of ability to enjoy what's going on. When you're a roadie, you're working. It's like you get up at 9 a.m. and by 10 or 11 o'clock, you're on the grind and you don't stop till 11 or 12, maybe even 1, 2 a.m. And at that time, everybody's partying and drinking and having fun. So you're partying and drinking, and then you got to get back up. Most people get to sleep it off. You got to get back up the fucking next day. Go at it again, just like
you're gonna be back in that truck
when you got to go to an office job tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Or work at McDonald's or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You partied too hard last night. Well, that's just the lifestyle out there. It's just the way it is.
That's it. And sometimes that's how you keep yourself going. You get those 6-7 day runs without a day off, and it's just like whatever it takes, whatever fuel.
Oh yeah.
I know you mentioned Saliva. Definitely shout out to Josie Scott.
That's my boy. Yeah, he's
good people, man.
Y'all had him on the show. You need to get him on the show. He's back doing his thing, bro.
Yeah. My camp.
I just saw him got interviewed by Cameron Buchholz, who's an old friend of mine from stand up, who's in Oklahoma. He just sat down with him and saw that interview.
That's funny you said that, because my crew, They just did a little thing with Lil White not too long ago in Oklahoma, and he actually showed up to the show. And my homie was like, he came up and like shook all their hands when they got off stage, and I'm like, you do know who that is, right? And they're like, nah, he's real cool though. I'm like, dude, that's Josie Scott from Saliva.
Oh yeah.
I was like, you never seen the movie Hustle and Flow? He's the guest. He's the attendant, the store attendant.
Yep. What do you got, DJ? Sorry, question.
What has been both of yours best experience being who you guys are?
You'll go first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sort of narrow it down to say like best experience. I think if I'm going to say like the best thing that's happened to me or the best feeling that I've got is, and it's happened a couple of different times in different ways, but anytime anybody gets inspired by or says that they've been inspired by anything that I've done, when that affects somebody else positively, because I'm not trying to do that, but it's sort of the best possible thing that can happen is you put out into the world your art, your work, yourself, whatever, and somebody looks at that and goes, oh shit, that makes me want to do something, positive, or helps them figure out something about themselves or feel better about themselves. So that's the best experience for me is experiencing that, to have somebody go, hey, thank you, because you doing what you did helped me do something for myself. Anytime that somebody's inspired is, that's the biggest reward that I get.
Heck yeah, I agree. That's probably one of the biggest things for me is, I hear from people often that the music has inspired them in some way, and I'm definitely trying to. I feel like I remember I could take you to the very place. I don't know about moment in time, but I could take you to the place where I was when I remember consciously making the decision that if I'm going to make music, I recognized and saw it in other people that most people, for some reason, most of their music is about the people in the world that they don't like or have a problem with or have hurt them or whatever. And I understand music is therapy and it can be a way to heal trauma. I can't say I've made every single one of my songs that, in just a super positive way. There are definitely a few out there that aren't super positive.
You got the most positive fuck off song that's ever been written. You have the most positive fuck off song ever.
Well, and as I did that with intention, I feel like music, I'm married to the music and the songs are my kids. And if I'm going to make a bunch of songs that I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life, I don't want them to be about people that I don't like, because then I've just got to keep that shit swirling in my head every time I sing them on stage. Or,
do you really want to go on stage every night and sing about your fucking ex?
Yeah. I don't want to be like, fucking I'm miserable tonight again because I'm singing about this person that did me wrong.
Right. And the worst part about it is too, is that in a song, if you write a song from genuine pain like that, like a breakup song like that, unless you genuinely feel the hurt again, you're not giving the best performance. So now you fucked yourself over, and that if you want to give the best performance of your work, you have to feel like shit again.
Right. You have to feel like shit again. And I can say as a songwriter, I understand the human psyche and its vast array of emotions. I definitely feel like we have the ability to somewhat control them. We're not all able to at all times. Even the best, even the monks living on the mountains in Tibet, but
every now and then, a monk at least once a day, some monk somewhere stubs their toe and just reflects, and he's like, motherfucker. He loses their shit for just like 1 second. They're like, yeah, that's the difference between that and serenity.
Yeah. And I think it's the ability to bounce back from it as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
If you can get, narrow it down to even a few seconds, you know, that's the best you can really hope for as an individual, because none of us are going to be without experience of things that aren't that are we're always going to have experiences that aren't pleasant.
It's involuntary. Something is going to happen, and without any chance of you having control over it, you're going to be like, fuck. And how quick can you come back?
How quick can you arise from it? How much control can you have over your reaction that may cause further harm, or further progress the negative emotion or feeling, you know? Because you can sit there and harp on some shit forever and be fucked up over it. You know what I mean? Or you can like figure out. I grew up watching Mr. Rogers, man, and his ability to navigate his own reaction to things was very inspiring to me. You know, he didn't let shit bother him too bad. You know. And I liked that. I liked seeing that in someone. And as we grow up, you know, your shit starts bothering you. But then as you get a little further down the road, you're like, man, I don't want to let shit bother me so bad because it's not doing me or anybody else any good. So that's
that wasted energy.
So inspiring that in other people, to answer your question, Stars, is probably the best thing to see that other people, like Eric said, feel some sort of way about something you've created. That's the best part about the single best experience. To, you know, more specifically answer your question, I always dreamed of performing at the High Times Cannabis Cup. It was like one of my dreams to do growing up. I'm a stoner. I was a stoner growing up. My first tattoo is Dazed and Confused. Me and my buddy, rest his soul, who passed away in 2002. He's what inspired the Pajama Street. In fact, the day after his funeral is what I count as the first day of my days, because the day of his funeral I wore slacks and they tore apart at the seams. And I was a pallbearer, and I just sort of took it as a sign from him. And it was a very traumatic experience for me. We were very close. He was pretty much my only friend for about 7 years, from the time we were teenagers until we were early 20s. And I just took it as a sign from him to, you know, life is short. You're going to die one day. Don't feel like you got to wear black slacks to impress some people out here that you don't really know that well. And what is their opinion anyway? You know what I mean? Like, it was just really impactful for me to be myself, you know, truly connect with who I am and what I do. And but he and I were stoners, and we grew up reading High Times magazine. And when I got invited to perform at the High Times Cannabis Cup, the first time, I got to do it twice in Amsterdam. Though looking back, that's probably like the best experience doing that. I don't think much could top it. You know, I could win Grammy. I've been to the Grammys a bunch of times, and those things are cool and all, but like true stoner shit for me is like where the dreams are, you know, like hanging out with Cheech and Chong. That was really cool, you know.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Do you have any days of confused pajama pants?
Pardon?
Do you have any days in confused pajama pants?
Dazed and Confused pajama pants. I used to have some. I don't anymore. I have some socks right now. Some Dazed and Confused socks.
Well, you know what? It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
All right.
Now he's got to get a pair. So, Muck Sticky, all these times I've interviewed you, I don't think I've ever told you who was my first interview and who started this whole thing and got me hooked. Do you know who it was?
I don't.
So it was a guy. I stood up on video and I had rainbow bright pajama pants on, and I sent him a pair, and he featured it in his music video as my first interview. Yeah.
I'm honored, man. It's cool to know that that's how that started. I mean, I thought you were new back at the time, but I always just like assume people have been doing whatever they're doing, man. But that's really cool. Yeah, it was in the walking and talking video, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yep.
I do remember that. Yep.
Yeah, you started the whole thing. I got
That
hooked.
means a lot to me, man. I'm glad to know you're still fucking at it, bro. That's fucking cool as shit, man. Because that was a fucking long time ago. Walking, talking. That was what, maybe like 2000. I want to say 13 or something like that.
Roughly around there. Yep.
Or 14, maybe. Yeah, man. Time flies, bro. It really does.
That was in the Muser days, wasn't it?
Yep. Muser Nation was the first time I interviewed him.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So, Muck Sticky, I love your new music videos, man. What would be one of your past? Let's go with 4 music videos. What was your favorite one to film?
Well, I haven't really done a lot of full-on music videos in, like, let's say this last year. We did one last year, was the last one we did for You Take My Breath Away. That was nice, but it wasn't my favorite one. But my favorite one to do in the past few was probably Living Thing. Maybe Stir Crazy, but I gotta say Living Thing, because I got to do, there was this art experiment exhibit thing in Memphis that this guy Christopher Reyes set up. He's known as Made by Ninja Cat, but the place was called Baron von Opperbeen's Exploratorium of Science, Magic, and the Multiverse.
That was a cool music video.
And man, that place was just it's the coolest thing I've ever been in my life. I mean, it's the way they decorated and the shit they did, they used lighting and textures. And if you look at the video, you have to watch it a bunch of times to fucking see everything, because there's just so much shit in there. It's like I don't know what you'd call it, but like a pounding on your brain of just shit everywhere. It's so cool. But one of the coolest things I've ever done. And then we did the Stir Crazy video with Jesse Hughes from Eagles of Death Metal, and that was pretty cool. He's a cool cat. He flew to Memphis and it was snowing. We went and fucking shot that video. Fucking crazy times, man. Crazy times.
And Lizardman, what have you been up to? Have you been performing?
Yeah, I've actually, it was last summer. It's just coming up on a year. I just got reminded it was about a year ago that tour that I did last year wrapped up. I was out on the road with the guy from Hell's a Poppin', which is Bryce Graves, Shorty, the half man, Shorty Dangerously, Willow. Who else do we have on that tour? Juggler. Yeah, his name escapes me. But anyway, that was really that was the first time that I really went back out on the road since the pandemic and did what I consider real touring. Getting in the RV, going city to city, day by day for I think it ended up being 5 weeks. It's supposed to be 6 weeks. It ended up being 5. And since then, I've sort of done things, at least a couple of events a month, going out there, going around. I've got as June kicks off, I'm actually going to be up in New York again. I'm going to be out in Western New York in Dunkirk for Catupalooza, which is a tattoo artist out there named Kat, who's putting on a whole music tattoo 3-day festival, like a big tattoo festival. But she got some bands and a lot of entertainment coming through as well.
Not Kat Von D.
No, not Kat Von D. No. This Kat and Kat Von D are kind of, tattoo wise, she's a very talented tattoo artist, I was going to say, but personality wise, kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. This cat's a lot cooler.
I used to want Kat Von D to secretly be my my baby's mother, but then I changed my mind. I figured out. I found out how she's quite rude.
Well, I don't have a great deal of personal experience with her, but she's a friend of a lot of my friends, especially Dallas-based ones, Dallas tattoo artists, people like that. And I think the general opinion or the vibe that I've gotten is they say like she's a lot different than she was back when she was just a tattoo artist around there. But she's had her success, and I don't wish her any ill. So good for her. She's done good things for tattooing overall, probably. I would say, there's a couple of people I know that deal with like copyright law and IP law like that, where she's actually been instrumental, like some of the cases that she was involved in. And, if she didn't have that fame, if she didn't have that success, she probably wouldn't have had the lawyers that would have been able to actually, follow through on those cases and win for her. and establish, what, let's say, it's like they say for tattoo artists' rights or something that have only really their legal rights to designs and their work is something that's only been really seriously considered for, less than 20 years now. And they say, I know a couple of lawyers, one of whom I have on retainer, who have worked on it, and it's very much a developing thing. And some of the cases that she ended up being involved with, fortunately, she had the resources and she had the, the public pulpit where she was able to get some attention to these things, because in the past, there's a lot of issues for tattooing that wouldn't have been taken up, or the tattoo artist wouldn't have been able to afford a lawyer of the caliber necessary to have a shot at winning the case. It's, when you're going up against corporations for the use of your work in a video game, a movie, whatever it is, they're coming to the table with big guns, right? And in the past, there wasn't a tattoo artist alive that would have had the money or the resources or the connections for that. She did.
Nice. Oh yeah. What do you got, DJ Stars?
Well, you kind of skipped me there, player.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wait a minute.
It's Easy's turn.
So the rotation's hard online. Everybody's looking at 4 different windows, a different shape.
Yep.
All right, Snickers. I'm gonna need you to log on. I'll take this over now. You've been smoking a little too much today, player.
Yeah. Yes, I have. Never smoke too much.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Muck on this one. So I think it might have been one of the last times that I seen Snickers interview you. You had just brought out a movie.
Yeah.
It's
called Dig That Zebo Newton. Yeah.
Yes, sir. How, me as a huge wrestling nerd,
You would.
Yeah, I know. You knew I was doing it. You already knew I was doing it.
I should have taken it first.
Yeah, she took a question.
So as a wrestling nerd, how was it working with a legend such as Jerry Lawler?
Oh man, I tell you, I knew him through my buddy Lil Hollywood, who was in a lot of my music videos in the early days and played in my live shows. He was a wrestler. He did a lot of stuff with Jimmy Hart and Jerry, and I'd been to a few events and met Jerry a couple times. Of course, as a kid growing up in Memphis, everybody, you know Jerry Lawler. Everybody knew Jerry Lawler, and so but I was more of a fan of Andy Kaufman growing up, a comedian. You know what I mean, at heart, and so I loved that thing that they did. I loved pranking the public, on themselves, and so when we got to making the movie, or knew we were going to make it, we knew it had to be made in Memphis, and we had the idea that we wanted to use all Memphis famous people, as many of them as we could. So we reached out to, I know a bunch of people, Wayne Sweeney from Saliva, rest his soul.
Mm-hmm. Lil White.
Of course, Lil White and Fraser Boy. Amy LaVere is in it. Keith Sykes, who is in Jimmy Buffett's band and an amazing songwriter in his own right. He did a lot of stuff with John Prine, rest his soul, and Jimmy Buffett's as well. And but anyway, so I reached out to Jerry and I just said, hey man, we've got this movie idea that we're putting together. We'd love to have you play our sheriff. And he was like, yeah, sure, send me the script. I'll take a look at it. And I sent him the script, and he hit me back, and he was like, yeah, I could probably give you an afternoon for about 4 hours. And I was like, all right, cool. It was only like 3 scenes. We can probably get that done. We had to do it in 2 different places, so we had some travel time, but I tell you, man, I haven't really told this story a lot, but so the day when we shot it, we shot the first scenes in the apartment that I was living in at the time, and he came over. We shot the bedside stuff or whatever, and then we went out to the general store, the Shelby Forest General Store. This is a very famous place in Memphis, or on the outskirts of Memphis. If you don't know it, Justin Timberlake grew up like a mile down the road. The church he grew up in was right down the road from the general store, like less than a half a mile, and his father Randy Timberlake was the music minister at the church for many years. And so the scenes we shot in that, Randy, actually Justin's dad, plays the pastor in the movie. But we shot it at the general store. So we got Jerry out to the general store, and it was so hot that day. It was like in the middle of fucking June or July, right? And I think it was July in Memphis. And school was letting out. It was like 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. So like there's all these school buses going by, pulling up to this 4-way stop. The buses are, when they put on their brakes, it squeals, and we're trying to shoot a scene. And when you got like a lot of loud noise like that, it's not really good for, continuity. And so we kept having to stop for the school buses, and then the camera overheated. And we had called up the Shelby County Sheriff's Department and asked them if we, my mom just called them on a minute. She's like, hey, we're shooting this movie with Jerry Lawler as the sheriff, and we want to know if you could like have a deputy truck come out there so we could have it in the movie. And they're like, yeah, sure. And they sent a deputy out, and the deputy hung out in the general store while we shot the scene. And I had to, but the engine was running, and so the deputy let me open my camera and put it up to the air conditioning vents to cool the fucking shit off. Oh, wow. And Jerry Lawler's sitting there, clock ticking, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're ready to go, and so that scene where he's like grabbing me on the scruff of the neck, we were like, I was panicking because like this camera's not working. We got Jerry Lawler here for this is the last hour, you know what I'm saying? And like, anyway, so I became, through it all, we became friends, and he was having trouble with some people doing his that were doing his classic Memphis wrestling show that ran on Saturdays in Memphis. And so I started producing that for him. I produced it for him for almost a year.
Wow.
We'd go to casinos. There's a couple episodes you can see online. We'd go to I'm not in them or anything. I just produced them. But I would go to casinos, and he'd shoot stuff, and his buddy would play guitar, and I'd have to go back through all these old classic Memphis wrestling DVDs and shit, and pull files from old wrestling episodes with all these famous wrestlers and shit. It was cool. It made me think of, and you'll probably appreciate this story as a wrestling fan, and then I'll let you ask your question, Stars. Hopefully you come up with another one. Since we took yours. But so when I was pulling those tapes, I saw footage of the Moondogs. You remember the Moondogs?
I've heard of them, yeah.
They were a famous brother wrestling duo, and I was there and have it on film. I still have never watched it to this day, but this was like probably 2003 or somewhere, and we were at the Mid-South Coliseum where all the famous Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler stuff went down, and there was a big wrestling match. I think it was one of Jerry's things. I was there with Hollywood and his girlfriend at the time, and I'm sitting there filming the shit from up in the stands, and one of the Moondog brothers like goes down and like falls out on the mat and doesn't get up, and everybody's like tripping. I'm like, oh, this is all staged. And after a while, we're like, man, maybe it's not staged. And they carry him off in an ambulance, and he died right there in the ring. We watched him die.
Wow.
Right.
Whoa.
It's fucking wild. Not to be a super downer, but historic wrestling moments, those dudes give their life for that shit, man, to entertain people. And it's worth us mentioning, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I had a friend,
I
had a friend that was in the arena the night that Owen Hart died when he fell from the raft or whatever. Rafters.
I remember when that happened.
Shit.
I didn't see it, but I remember when that happened.
Oh yeah.
I'm a wrestling fan. So what's your question, Stars?
How do you guys like respond and interact with your fans?
I respond and interact with them. Yeah, it really look, the way somebody approaches me is this, dictates the way that I respond to them. If somebody's a fan, it's cool. Then I mean, obviously, I'll compliment their good taste, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I try to. I've always been a fan of music and entertainers in general. You know, I grew up watching Comedy Channel and movies, and I was just a fan of entertainment in general. And um, knowing what I know about how I feel about other people, I try to like keep that in mind when I'm dealing with fans. You know, that how I would want the person I'm a fan of to respond to me. You know, they say don't meet your heroes, but I've met a shitload of my heroes. And so many of them were fucking so super nice. I'm so glad I did. You know, but there are a handful that weren't. And I remember it, you know, and it sticks with me in a sour way. I can recall on less than 2 or 3 fingers the times that maybe somebody could say the same thing about me. And I feel bad about it, you know, like I remember someone asking me for a photo and I wasn't a dick, but I was in the middle of something. I was in the middle of getting my band into this venue and I was like, hang on, I'll be right back and I'll get a photo with you. And I left and I didn't come back for a few minutes. When I came back, they were gone. And as a fan, I would have said, hey, man, you can stop and fucking take this photo for 10 seconds with me. You know what I'm saying? And I could have, and I should have, you know? So I try to keep those things in mind. You know, Rob Zombie was a super dickhead to me. The redheaded chick from the B-52s, fucking super cunt. But other than that, you know, there are, like I said, there are very few that I've met that weren't nice. I think most entertainers try to remember that, you know.
Yeah. Be surprised.
Thankful that we get to do what we do, man. You know, like you should be thankful that you get to do what you do. Most people have to do some shit that they don't want to do for a living, and we get to do what we want to do, you know.
I guess it might be a genre thing, but I don't know, man. Like I wholeheartedly believe in that. You never really want to meet your idols because you will be disappointed. I wholeheartedly believe it. Me as an artist myself, like I've opened or worked with, I'd say 85% of the people that I idolized as a youth. And out of that 85%, about 35% of those dudes were humble, respectful, cool, down to earth dudes. Like I was beautiful interactions.
Right.
The other 50%,
yeah.
Like
I mean, everybody has a different experience. It could be a genre thing, you know. Like I don't know what genre you listen to, but
like hardcore hip hop, hardcore hip hop, gangster rap.
Those guys have a persona to play, you know, to a degree, and I think a lot of that. And dealing, just knowing what I know about the business, I try to give most people the benefit of the doubt because, like you were talking about Kat Von D a minute ago, and you know, I can't imagine as a female tattoo artist in Hollywood, the shit she's had to fucking deal with business wise.
You know, there's a lot of weirdos out there.
So
yeah,
it might make you a little not so pleasant to people, you know? And, especially if you're having one of those days, man. Some days are good, some days are bad, you know? And like, so I try to give people that benefit of the doubt. If they're not nice to me, maybe they were just having a rough day.
That is the thing too, is that a lot of times, you know, I've had other people, you know, comment to me, like people that I've been traveling with specifically, you know, because it's like you mentioned, you're in a rush, you're trying to get somebody in, like, and I am the most, you know, I try not to show it, but like internally when I'm traveling, I am stressed. I want to be at the gate way too fucking early, sitting there waiting just in case anything happens, right? I'm that dude. Like I worry more than the tour manager should. I'm thinking about, oh, well, what about the weather? So like when I'm trying to get through an airport, for instance, so that, like say, like I've got the 10 seconds, just stop, take the photo. And I do, but I'm like every now and then where it's just, there's something like, guys, I'm not going to let this, you know, mess it. Like I said, it's that context. They said, I've just stubbed my toe. For we were talking before, like how the monk goes, motherfucker, for a second. It's like, how fast can you recover? I'm like, well, this is the equivalent of me having stubbed my toe all day long. And so he's like, hey, come over here and talk to, you know, my kid, do whatever. Like, I would love to. I'd love to have the time to do that. But sometimes I'm freaking out because I'm like, I don't want to be the asshole who then shows up to the gate and goes, hi, I was too busy playing wannabe celebrity, taking pictures with people to be on time for my plane. Because that drives me nuts when other people aren't on time, when people don't respect their time like that. So it's like, yeah, it's, there's definitely a balancing act sometimes, or just a context where you just got to be, and I'll just try and be honest with people all the time. Like, I will make people walk and take photos with you. Somebody will go, hey man, can I get a picture? I'm like, yeah, can you do it while we walk? Like, at least allow me to continue forward progress to my goal, because I'm on a schedule, even if you're not, and most people do understand that.
I've met a lot. I was just gonna say I've met a lot of celebrities in my time, and I've met some of the biggest superstars in the world, and some of the nobodies act more like dickhead celebrity than the biggest celebrities in the world. I met Post Malone back in 2018. The 1 week after Beer Bongs and Bentleys had come out. And like, this is like when his fame was like, man, everybody was talking about him. It was like that day they found out he had broken the Beatles record for whatever it was, at that time. And we were playing a music festival. I wasn't even playing that day. I had played with my buddy Al the day before, and I went back the next night to introduce the Flaming Lips. While Wayne Coyne was on stage, he was like, yeah, we want to get done because I want to go see Post play. I had heard one of Post Malone's songs. It was the congratulations song. So I wasn't like a fan. I knew he was the braided, grilled out white dude rapper guy that's hot right now. That's all I knew about him, And so we got on a golf cart and we rode down to the other stage, and through a series of fortunate events, I knew the security guards at the stage. We ended up hanging out on stage, and then we got to go up to his trailer. Me and Wayne and his girlfriend, Katie, we went up in the trailer, and it was like Post, his mom, a few of his friends, a security guard, and like 2 other people. And they welcomed us in, were super nice. And before I knew it, I was sitting there with him talking about like Hank Williams, because my grandfather was a studio musician. And so he played with like Elvis and Johnny Cash and Carl Perkins and all these guys. And so we got to talking about that, and we were singing some of those songs, and Wayne and them had left, and I had gone with Wayne and them. So I was now by myself with Post Malone and his crew. And they were like, hey, we're fixing to go up on the bus. You want to come hang out with us? And I was like, sure. We went up on his bus. We ended up hanging out afterward, throwing footballs and shit till like 3 or 4 in the morning. He didn't know me from anybody, but welcomed me in and was like so genuine and nice and generous and and he was like at the superstar of like, I could be a dick to everybody. Y'all, I could tell all you motherfuckers to fuck off. And he was just like so humble and nice. And I've hung out with him more than a dozen times since then. And he every single time is just straight up the nicest dude on the planet. And I don't let anybody talk shit about him. I mean, you can think what you want about his music or whatever. So I don't like all of his music, but I like a lot of it. But he is like, I've met people who have almost no fucking following compared to his, who think they're bigger and better and have acted more like a dickhead, who have a smaller following than me. You know what I'm saying? Treat me like a fucking dick. They're some big badass motherfucker. And
I know a lot of those people.
Well,
nice, and I've learned that from meeting people that I've looked up to. Like Beck is my favorite artist, and I've met him several times. One of the nicest dudes ever. Steven Tyler was a big idol growing up. When it did the Kiss Aerosmith tour with Saliva, 70-something dates, one of the coolest dudes on the fucking planet. Multiple idols I've met were like everything I imagined them to be. You know what I'm saying? And it's taught me how to be better. I'm not saying that I'm, anybody's major idol. Maybe I am. I don't know. But I just know that if I have a fan, I'm going to treat them how I want to see them. How I would want to see me treat me if I was that fan. You know what I mean? I don't know.
So this question would be for the Lizard Man, because Muck Sticky missed this earlier. I actually stop and get iced coffee every morning on the way to work in the Lizard Man's hometown.
Right. Yep. Well, I guess hometown, town I grew up in. That's because it's always because I was born in Kentucky, but I grew up in Ellenburg I was there from the time I was basically 3 till 18.
What part of Kentucky?
Fort Campbell. I was born on. I'm a war baby. Dad got drafted.
That's where I reside. I'm a Kentuckian myself.
Yeah, I mean, I got no recollections and only 2 photos of me in Kentucky. So
we just played Kentucky a couple weeks ago. Covington, Kentucky.
That's 15 minutes for me.
Man, you should have come down and party with us, bro. Where were you?
Yeah.
If I would have known prior to that, I would have came down. Where were you at, the Madison?
Yeah. It was a fun show. Packed the fuck out, bro. We had a blast, man. We've been having a blast getting back to these shows. In fact,
was this you or who was with you?
No, I got my boys in the band Bonsai touring with me right now. They're a rock, reggae, hip hop sort of group from Jackson, Tennessee, a little north of Memphis, where I'm from, about halfway between Memphis and Nashville. And they're my brother band since the early days. I think 2002 is when we first started playing shows together. So I've got them on tour with me right now. We're playing in Texas, a bunch of shows in Texas, Lizardman. Aren't you in?
I'm in Austin.
We're playing Moon Tower, July 22nd.
Oh, shit. Yeah. All right.
Party at the Moon Tower, baby.
Party at the Moon Tower, man.
So I'm so stoked that I get to say I'm having a party at the Moon Tower.
Yeah.
You don't know like how surreal that shit is to me, right?
So, the Lizard Man, have you got a chance, because I remember from your last interview with you, to be in an artist music video? You said that was one of your bucket lists.
Well, it's much a bucket list as it is. It's a thing that hasn't happened out of everything. I get checking, like I've done. Yeah, but it's to my knowledge, I've never appeared in a music video. I've done movies, I've done TV, I've done different roles and all sorts of things.
Don't make any plans for the 22nd or 23rd of July because.
Well, that's why I'm looking at it right now, and the thing it's I'm out in Wisconsin for Rockfest. No. From the 16th to the 21st. And then so the 22nd is a Monday, 23rd is a Tuesday. You playing Monday, Tuesday?
I'm playing Monday night, and then we have Tuesday that we could shoot some video.
Hell yeah. That's perfect. Yeah, I'll probably get home. My flight will probably get me in like late Sunday night.
Oh, cool. Well, you'll be able to come to the show. I'll put you on the guest list at the show if you want to come.
Hell yeah.
And jump on stage and do some shit, man. That'd be fun.
I'm down. We're doing it.
Yeah, dude. It's happening, bro. Fuck.
Hell yeah. I was
hoping. There we go. Look at that. You guys, so.
That's a bucket list for me, man, having the Lizard Man fucking host one of my shows. So we're going to cross each other's bucket list.
We're going to check all the boxes. We're going to, the meteor's going to hit and we're going to be like, that's fine. We already did all the shit.
Yes, dude.
Hell yeah. So what do you got, DJ Stars?
I was not prepared.
Did I skip you again, Easy?
I see. Good.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Yeah, because I haven't heard you ask one in a while, man. Go for it.
You know what? You're fired for tonight.
Oh.
The second time you've been fired tonight.
I got a question for Lizard Man. Do you have any Guinness World Records for your stuff? Is there any of it?
I have the Guinness World Record for the heaviest weight lifted and helicopter spun from the ears for doing it with a beer keg. That's my Guinness World Record because there's world records. Just a world record's a world record. Guinness World Records are only what Guinness recognizes. So there's a little bit of politics and corporate nonsense involved in that because what's funny was when I got the world's record for the heaviest weight lifted and spun, it was also the heaviest weight lifted, but they decided not to give me that one so I had the world's record for that, but only the Guinness World's Record for the spin. It's a silly thing.
Yeah, I heard it has to be like something verifiable, like.
Well, it's not just verifiable, but it's like Guinness will make a decision on whether they say like there's a classic one that we used to point to with body mod stuff, which is the most needles in a plate piercing. Just putting needles through the arm. You see people do plate piercing like that. Well, the record's a few hundred. It goes but there's a picture from the 80 of a guy with easily over 1,000 needles. It's because they're very tiny ones and they're fitted all up and down his back. But because it's from a fetish magazine, and that's how it was documented, Guinness doesn't want to touch that because they're a family business. They want to keep it, nothing sexual. And I get that that's fine. But what happens is that's a reason. That one's for content. Other times they've just been boldly political, where somebody will break a record and they'll just be like, no, we don't like the verification. They'll basically deny the evidence for some trivial or technical reason, or just flat out just say no because they've got somebody else that they work with and they promote, because there's a lot of business, there's a lot of greed and a lot of money involved. And so it just gets kind of silly. It's one of the reasons that I don't have much to do with it. And I really love the idea of world's records and having them be keep, but the way that the current business that has evolved around it, which is what Guinness World Records is. It's a business that's evolved out of this idea of striving for records. And under its current management and direction, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah.
So I don't really
I'm curious. I thought you had one. So
yeah. So I've got the one official Guinness. I have held or hold a few different world records, but for the ones that Guinness has recognized, there's only one. So, but there are competing organizations too. There's a few different ones, but none of them have sort of the prestige or the history that Guinness does. It is the brand for records. But like I say, because of that, it's become a corporate, it has its own corporate interests, which sometimes it puts ahead of record keeping. They're not just trying to be fair and honest keepers of history. They're trying to guide things and profit off them.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can see that, the world has become very corporatized in most avenues, so it's
but like I said, the core idea there is still like, look, I was inspired by Guinness World Records as a kid, and also things like Ripley's, who, I don't work with, again, because I just sort of don't agree with the way they're trying to do it. But there's still great things to inspire people. And I always tell people, I'm like, yeah, if your kid likes it, I enjoy it. Like, they don't need to know yet that the corporation is evil. The book is still good for them. It's kind of like separating art and artists. You're like, look, the company who puts this book out are kind of a bunch of shitheads, but the book is great. I'm not going to deny that the book isn't great.
Sure.
So I got a question for Lizardman. I figured this would be the more obvious question, but I don't know. I wasn't really going to ask it, but I kind of want to know. When you were a youngster, what made you wake up?
I was just a little lizard.
I want to be a lizard.
Whatever it takes. Even when I wasn't even when I was an older lizard, an adult lizard, but not a lizard man yet, I didn't know that I wanted to be a lizard man. So the whole thing started off, originally. Well, I can't even say tougher. So there's a few different things, right? What I did by becoming a lizardman was kind of took a whole lot of different interests and ideas that I had and kind of pulled them together into one thing. So I had an interest in sideshow stunts, and I was interested in martial arts feats, standing on swords and catching arrows, and I wanted swallowing swords. I want to be able to do all that stuff. I'm literally the kid that they put the warning on the TV for. There's do not try this at home. And I'm like, nah, I'm going to try that. I'm going to figure this out. And I'm going to try it. But that's because that's the thing. I want to do it. But I wasn't a dumb kid who'd been dropped on his head. Just like, hey, I'll try it. Let me crash the car or whatever. No, I was a nerd. I still am a nerd, right? So when I saw something like swords, I thought it was cool. I was like, first I got to figure out if it's real or if it's a trick. And if it's a trick, I'm going to learn how to do the trick. And if it's real, I'm going to learn how to train myself to do it for real. But, to do that. So I started studying this stuff, right? I started trying to figure it out. And so I had this interest in that stuff. And then I discovered Japanese tattooing, and then the history of circus, tattooed man and exhibitions. And I got to think about that. And that also kind of intrigued me because it made me think about, there's only a few people, even like today, I'm one of less than a dozen sort of noteworthy, people whose names you remember for completely tattooed people, or that have had the level of success that I've been lucky enough to have. And it's, people like the Great Omi, Prince Constantine, who was sort of the first Westerner goes through, but there's very, very few throughout history. And when I was first learning about them, I'm thinking, well, what kind of person is this? What is it like? What is it like to live like this? What's the appeal of it? right? And in sort of thinking about it, I got to the point where I was like, wait, this appeals to me. I want to do this. And so as that process kind of evolved, then I had to pick a theme. And that's where it comes down to like picking the lizard theme. And I picked it for a number of reasons. But the most important one is because I think it looks cool. Once I had this, general idea of a reptilian, I was like, okay, how would I do it? And this is more or less what I came up with, with, sort of the limits of current technology and tattooing and et cetera. But I wanted sort of a more stylized looking, so like I said, reptilian themed idea that was there. And like I said, that's sort of came together once. And when that kind of visually was coming together, something that, because I would say, you pick out a suit that you're going to wear for an event. When you pick out your tattoo suit, you pick it out for the rest of your life. So I'm figuring out like, what do I want to see in the mirror every day? What can I live with in that measure, right? Yeah, you see that Muck Sticky in the mirror every day. That'll just make you smile. But yeah, so I'm doing that, and it starts to come together. When I end up going on stage, like my early years performing, I used names like Spider God 5, Mistake. I was Art by Mistake sometimes. Just a bunch of different things. But it got to the point where the obvious thing was Lizardman. Like I'd be an idiot not to use it. It's right there. And sometimes the obvious thing is what you want to go with, especially if you're trying to make a career publicly, performance-wise. And, once I was on Ripley's Believe It or Not, the TV show, and they called me Lizardman, well, that was it. I was either going to succeed or fail as Lizardman, because that was 20 million viewers, and I'm never going to get exposure like that again.
So a question I didn't ask last time when I had you on. Did you have any other designs you were going to do for a tattoo before?
Oh yeah, like I was just saying, like I had to figure out like what I wanted to see. So I was, for a long time, I was just keeping a list of ideas. Like at one point, I considered doing a maze over my whole body, a story. So you'd have to read it, start at one point, and then read all the way through it. Polka dots, or sometimes maybe polka dots with like logo pieces in them. Skulls, being covered in insects. Just a Japanese sort of wash, like an eerie sort of like double tone. We see like there were a lot of different ideas, a lot of different themes. And like I said, the main consideration was what do I like, what's going to appeal. But also to a certain extent, I thought about like, well, what will work best? Because I was also, a student of the history of this. And I've looked back at the history of tattooed people that have exhibited themselves. And so the ones who were truly successful, some of the things they all had in common was you can't just stop at the neck. Like, sure, there were a few people who were fairly successful doing just suits, but that was early on when it was rare enough that anybody'd pay a nickel to see a tattoo, no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, it's got to be top to bottom. You got to go your head, you got to go your hands, you got to go the whole line. And theme is big. Thematic attractions have always been more successful than non-thematic attractions. So I'm like, even if it wasn't 100%, I could do whatever I wanted. I knew I had some leeway, but you've got to present an easily graspable concept. You are, for all intents and purposes, creating a character, like a mascot for a company, right? I am my own company. I am the Lizardman. So the Lizardman is my mascot. I've got to build this thing conceptually before I put it out there. I didn't go into this just sort of like, hey, I think it'd be cool to be green. I mean, that was my initial idea was, yeah, it'd be fucking cool to be green. But I spent years planning it out, and I planned it out as an artist. I planned it out as a businessman. I planned it out on all the different levels I could think of that I would need to succeed, because I knew that what I was doing was fucking crazy and stupid and probably wasn't going to work unless I had really planned it out properly. I wouldn't have a chance.
Dedication.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is.
So dedication.
Muck Sticky, how did it's been a while since I've asked you this question. How did you come up with the name Muck Sticky?
The name, that's one of the common ones I get, is the name. So I was writing I would call my first song that I ever wrote. I was at my buddy Dennis, rest in peace. I was at his house, and I was picking this song on the acoustic guitar, and it was funny. And I'd been in like a rock and roll cover band, like we covered like heavy shit like Korn and Slipknot and stuff. And I wasn't feeling that vibe, I wasn't like, I gotta just like yell and scream and be angry all the time. Is what we were talking about earlier. And so I wrote this song and I was like, oh, that's going to be my name. And my favorite artist in the world, like I said, is Beck. But I watched a lot of Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, rest his soul, during that time. And he was always talking about, we're out here in the muck, mucking around, you know. I love that word. And I was like, I'm going to call myself Muck and just be a one-named artist like Beck, you know. So I left. I was like inspired. I was like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. I'd figured it out. You know, I left my buddy's house. I was headed home. I was playing the cassette tape of Dr. Dre's The Chronic 2001. And I heard Snoop Dogg say, got some of that real sticky, icky, icky. And I was like, oh, what if I had a last name Sticky? That Muck Sticky. I could take you to the spot on the road where I was right now. In Bartlett, Tennessee, and I just knew it just like hit me like a ton of bricks. This is what I was going to do, and kind of like Eric said, you know, I envisioned. I was already kind of like dressing in, you know, sloppier stoner clothes, you know, pajamas and whatnot. As I became a performer, I tried to, you know, sharpen it up a bit and look a little nicer, you know what I'm saying? But I was already kind of in that mode if that's how I dressed anyway, colorful shit, weird shit. And I just decided, man, I'm going to start making these fucking songs. And there were a few characters, what you would call an archetype, I guess, you know, like that inspired me. Steven Tyler, like I said, was one of them. There was this guy on this show. Y'all probably wouldn't remember. You may, because you were maybe in the Nashville. I think it was made in Nashville, but it was called Mrs. Kabobble's Caboose.
I remember that.
You remember Mrs. Kabobble's Caboose? So there was a guy, Professor Pickens, and he was like her little sidekick dude, and he wore this big tall hat and these big suspenders and jackets with these long coattails and wacky pants with these tall boots and shit. And so I kind of liked his vibe a little bit. And there are a few other people growing up, you know, Weird Al was very inspirational. You know, just lots of different characters that I saw that dressed colorful. I was like, I want to be one of those sort of colorful, happy guys that brings brightness to the world. That's what my spirit is like, I'm here to brighten up the world. Plenty of people can spew negative energy and darken the world, but I'm here to brighten it up a bit if I can, you know. And I saw a lot of people growing up. I'm from Memphis, home of the blues, you know. I saw a lot of people singing the blues and depressed growing up. That's what Memphis is, man. It's like most people are kind of sad and having a hard time, you know. And I, being like kind of, I guess, Jim Carrey in a way, wanted to like make people laugh. I saw people down and like, I want to lift you up, you know. Just try to like boost everybody's mood a little bit, and that's the kind of the foundation for my music and what I do is to help brighten people up. You know, I watched a lot of people in my personal life go through traumatic experiences and problems. Me going through my best friend dying. Dennis, the guy that I was at when I wrote my first song, about a year and a half into being Muck Sticky, he passed away from multiple sclerosis and complications from it. And it inspired me to, you know, man, you know, I was very down for a long time. And then when I kind of like, after a couple months, decided I can't stay down forever, man. I got to come up out of this shit. And I'm going to do something to help people that are in these dark times. I'm going to make songs that help people when they're in their darkest moment, you know, and I know it to be true because I've had like soldiers come up to me. I had a soldier come up to me at a show once in 2007 and he was wearing his uniform and he took a medal off his chest and gave it to me and said, I owe you this medal because I was in Afghanistan, and I was a gunner. We guarded generals going through the most dangerous places, Ambush Alley. And I've had to do some things that are unspeakable. I've had to take out so many people. But the only reason I'm sane right now is because I had your music going in my headphones, keeping me grounded. And
that's awesome.
So I feel like I owe you this medal. And like that kind of shit is what I do this for is to help people in those dark places. You know, I can't help that he had to go through that, and I hate that he did. But if I could be part of it not being so bad for him, you know, that's what I think we all should want to do in life is help each other make life not be so bad for each other. You know what I mean?
I
And whatever
agree.
way you can. If it's through music or it's through, you know, hosting a podcast or whatever your thing is, you know what I'm saying? Like you can brighten up somebody's world without even realizing it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well, see,
It's very
people say the
rewarding.
thing, like when people say, be the person that you wish that somebody had been for you. That's a part of the reason when I go out to do shows, so that I generally think about, look, if everybody here, well, if only one person here enjoys this, if everybody else hates it, it doesn't matter, because I'm looking for young me. Like, where's the next me out there who needs to see that this can be done, that this can there's a way you can make this work for you. If you feel like I want to do it, yeah.
There are a lot of kids out there who are afraid of somebody that looks like you, or even somebody that looks like me. That I get scares all the time, but I'm sure you get it way more than I do. And if you can like show those kids that you're not something to be afraid of, dude, overcoming fear is like the biggest thing in life. And if you can do that for young you, man, you don't know what you're going to inspire in the world, bro. Like, and we have to keep that going in life. You know,
that's a big one. It's I just had another interview a couple of days ago where we ended up talking about this, because that's where there's with this sociologist who kind of wanted to focus in on like the bad stuff and people that don't, you know, like what I've done or whatever. And I'm like, look, I never really asked to be an example, but the problem is when there's so few people that do what you do, like heavy body modification, then the minute that a camera gets put on you, you become the spokesperson, right? If I go out and act like a dumbass, then all that does is make people who don't like tattoos and body modification go, see, I told you, they're all crazy, dumb sons of bitches who don't do anything good like that. So it's like, again, didn't ask for it, but I mean, hey, here we are. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to try and make sure that anytime that I'm out in public, especially when I know I'm being recorded or broadcast or whatever, I got to show up with my A game, because the person who comes after me is going to have to deal with it. It's like that with Sideshow, the touring we talk about, don't burn a lot, which is an old expression for like, don't do when you show up at a venue, treat that venue with respect, because that's where you get to do your business as a performer. Because especially if you're a sideshow performer and you show up and you leave a big mess and you piss everybody off, they won't have another sideshow back. Like with music, it's a little bit different. I mean, you should still, you need to show that respect for a venue. But, when if one band fucks up, they'll hire another band. But for a long time, if a sideshow guy fucked up somewhere, that place would never let another dude on their stage again. And we could tell, and that's how you get a bad reputation.
I've had a few of those fuck ups in my day, man, where, we did crazy shit, and had one recently actually that wasn't so pleasant. And, I mean, I asked permission from like 3 or 4 people if I could do something, and they all said yeah. But apparently I didn't ask the right person, and the person got really mad about what I did and didn't like it. I'm not going to go into detail, but
that sucks because you tried, though. You tried.
I probably should have just not done what I did, in hindsight. But I was trying to make the show the best thing it could possibly be. And like I said, I went to the people who I thought would know, and they said, yes, we have no problem with that. In fact, thank you for asking us. And then it turns out they should have said, hey, I don't know, go ask that guy back there. And if I had gone and asked that guy back there, he would have said, no, don't do that. Yeah. And I shouldn't have done it. So
I tell you a funny
you're out there listening.
A funny story that's basically that same thing. This happened out with the Hells of Poppin' tour. And this happens, there's a few stories I've heard other people have with it. When it comes to fire on stage, like normally you'll show up and be like, hey, do you guys care if we do fire eating on stage? Is fire eating okay? Just torches and that, and some places will say yes, some places it doesn't. We're not going to argue with you. If you say yes, then it's in the show. If you say no, then it's not in the show. But like Muck was just explaining, sometimes you ask the wrong person and you get an answer. You go on that answer, and then the right person shows up and they freak out. So basically what happened was
It's actually kind of what that was. I did these. I use these like gender reveal smoke sticks. You know those little things you like pull a string.
Oh yeah.
It comes out. It's not pyro. You hold them in your hand.
Yeah.
But this younger manager guy freaked out because it was pyro. You did pyro.
No.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. So when fire is allowed in the show for Hell's Poppin', it's the opening act. It's the very first act, right? It's Bryce will go out and he'll make his big announcement, and the show starts off, and then they come out with he and Willow come out with the torches and they get going. Well, like you said, we asked the wrong person and got a yes. So the show starts with fire. Then the right person, the person we should have been notified, sees the fire, flips out like, "Oh my God, why are they doing fire?" and slams the fire curtain on the theater. Now, this is not the regular curtain. You can't just pull it back up and go back to the fucking show.
Oh, no.
It's like, everything shut the fuck down. Like, hold on, we're gonna go. And everybody there's screaming and yelling. And what the hell are you doing?
Shut my show down too. my crew guys assured them that I wasn't doing any more of those, so they let the show go on. But
it was just a long reset.
I do feel bad in hindsight, but like I said, I asked and I was told, yeah, man, it's no problem. So, I mean, I'm kind of like, I've asked 3 people that were out there doing the production of the show. And so, I mean, I kind of like, on one hand, I feel bad, but on the other hand, like they said, yeah. So, I mean,
there are honest mistakes like that. And then there are people like, this is the ones where I don't have a lot of sympathy, but I've known people to be like, oh, well, they said no, but we're going to do it anyway. And then it's a well-deserved bad reputation.
Being disrespectful. I mean, and you hear all the stories about rock stars like the Eagles and Led Zeppelin and all these people like trashing hotel rooms and throwing TVs off of balconies and shit and destroying dressing rooms and venues and stuff. And I mean, if the worst I've done is like pull a couple of smoke sticks at the opening of my show, man, that's
That's crazy. They shut you down for that.
They didn't shut me down, but they wanted to. They were pretty pissed. And like I said, I feel bad about it. I do really because, I guess I shouldn't have done it. I learned. I'm probably going to exit that from the act.
So easy. What do you got for a question, homie?
Well, let me go back and look and see if I got anything.
I got a question for you. What episode is this?
Oh, man.
You don't keep track of episodes.
I've got thousands now. Thousands on
wow, that's awesome.
Damn.
Fucking right, dude. Hell yeah.
Make up a number, Muck. It's your interview. You can make up a number.
Yeah, let's make up a number. This is number 6 for Muck Sticky.
If it's half of what, you say 2014, I've been in pajamas for 22 years. You've been doing this for 10. So I know that's 8,000 days. So, I say, I don't know, maybe you've done like 3,000, 2,000, 3,000, somewhere in there.
Roughly around in there now, yeah. Yep.
That's cool. That's fucking nice, man. Doing something you love doing, man. That's
absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Say that, man. So
even if I don't get a lot of views on the interview, I'm just gonna be happy I was the one to get Lizardman in your music video.
Yes, that's awesome.
That's right. You were the conduit.
Yep.
Yeah, totally put the shit together. I thought about it before, and I think maybe there was a thread back years ago that he and I had when we first reunited because we lost touch for years, and then we reconnected through Instagram or Facebook or somewhere, I can't remember. And I was like, "Hey man, it'd be really cool to have you cameo on one of my music videos one day." And I've just never gone through Austin. He's never been when I lived in Memphis or anything, and
it's just sometimes it's hard to get that connection.
It. And then you tell me it's one of his bucket list things, and I'm like, oh shit! Well, now we got to make this fucking happen, bro. So,
oh yeah.
Well, it's like what'll generally happen is like, Muck and I we did that tour with Saliva, that Jaeger tour, and then when you're touring, it's like, you see people when you see them. You sometimes hook up the tat or hook up whatever. So we wouldn't really cross paths that often. But so somebody I know, what will happen is someone I'll know will discover his music and make a comment about it, because that's how people. It's so funny to me that I've gotten to see multiple people's initial reactions, their first exposures to Muck Sticky, or at least I see them right after it, because it's like I said, the most recently was on Instagram, because it was a guy, he just moved to Austin, was doing stand up. He's pretty good. He's having some success making. And so he's online a lot, right? Pumping up his shows, pushing stuff, making reels. So he's looking at other people's stuff, and he found one of Muck Sticky's Instagram reels. It's a short clip of his songs, and he put it up. And I'm looking through my feed, and I see on Mike's thing, and I go, hey, that's Muck Sticky, and he just got up, and he's like, I'm trying to remember what he said, something like, I think this dude must be the happiest person in the world, or something. Yeah. And I was just, so I've got a comment. I'm like, I know that dude, and he is the happiest person in the world. But yeah, so and whenever that happens, I get reminded. I'm like, hey, shit, I haven't talked to Muck in a while. I gotta fucking send him a message or tag him in something. But yeah, it's, for me, that's one of the most fun things. It's like people, and because it's always positive. Like sometimes people aren't necessarily like, holy shit, I want to buy all his albums and run out to his concerts, but every single one of them is like, this dude is just unnaturally happy.
And I tell you, if you do come to a concert, man, it's like the happiest show you'll ever see. By the end of it, people are in just such a good fucking mood, like I've always designed it that way, I want people walking away feeling euphoric, man. I love going to concerts. I love walking away feeling euphoric, like I've had some of the most incredible experiences in my life at concerts. Mm-hmm. And to walk away from it feeling better about life than you did when you walked through the door, that should be the goal of most every entertainer, if you ask me.
Yeah. If you don't know that feeling, right? When you've been to a good show, when you've had a good time at the show, there's a feeling when you walk out of the building, right? The air hits you, right? You're outside again, and you have that moment of, holy shit, I just truly enjoyed what I did for the last couple hours.
Yeah, man, I forgot about all the troubles in the world. And now it's really not as bad as I thought it was when I walked in there, man. Life's not quite as bad as I thought it was.
Yep.
And if we can do that regularly with people, that's like the, like I said, the goal with, I think what every artist should be striving for is to have people walking away feeling like that. That's what I haven't toured in like 10 years. And this year I'm getting back into touring for the first time. I did a couple of headline shows in September of last year, but it was like 2014 was the last time I really did any touring. And, it feels good to be back at it. I definitely do need to do a show in Missouri, says Kid Jewel. Yep. We've got some dates planned. We got a string down through Texas in July. We've got some stuff out in the West Coast in August, and I think Midwest in September. Maybe Missouri will be on that run. I know Ohio is. So I love playing.
What part of Ohio,
We're going to be playing probably multiple days there, but right now the only one booked is the OV DJ Campout. It's in Jacobsburg, Ohio. It's like about 45 minutes west of Wheeling, West Virginia. It's on the east side of the state. It's a small, tiny little town, a hunk of property. I swear to God, you feel like you're in the movie Wrong Turn when you drive onto the road to the thing, because it's one of them things where like the trees make like a dome over the road.
And that was all in West Virginia too.
Yeah, so I mean it's right there next to it, you know what I mean? So
if you're doing anything
the people are nothing like that. It's like a party of amazing DJs and eclectic folks doing glass blowing and all kinds of food trucks and merchandise. And it's these bikers on the property, and they let it's one of the things they do every year. They do stuff for like abused children and benefits and things. So this kind of benefits that a little bit. And so I love being part of it. I had a blast last year. I can't wait to do it this year. It's going to be fun. But we're going to be doing dates all over. I'm going to be touring probably for the next year or two, and then I'm going to take some time off and maybe make another movie or something. I'm not sure really what's on the plate. I'm about, like I said, this coming Monday, I'm announcing the biggest project of my entire life. And it's something no other artist in music history has ever attempted to do before.
I can't wait to hear
it. I've read about a few. It's kind of like Lizardman and the tongue thing or whatever. I've read about another artist or two that have done something similar, but it's never been actually recognized as a,
intriguing.
This is the first time anybody's ever done what I'm about to do. And so I've been working on it for a really long time.
Are you you're announcing it Monday, or does it happen on Monday?
I'm announcing it Monday. I'm announcing what it's going to be. It's going to kind of lead you to next Friday. That will be more detailed.
Okay.
And then the thing is going to be in another little period down the road. So it's I'm excited. I have a really hard time not talking about things publicly. That I'm excited.
I'm the same way, yeah.
And like I'm a big believer in like, speaking about things and bringing them to fruition. Now, I don't say you go tell everybody your innermost secrets, but kind of like almost have to tell people things to hold yourself accountable for doing what you say you're going to do. Like I'm that way to a degree. If I don't tell anybody, then I don't really have to do it,
Yep.
But this thing, I swear to God, this has been like the hardest thing to keep a secret, man. I've told maybe a dozen people in my little circle and world, like I've got a few friends that I know would never tell anybody, and my family and a couple of business people, because it's something that I wanted to be the first to do it, and I didn't want somebody else being like, "Oh, I want to do that," instead.
Right.
So if somebody, anyway, I just I'm really excited. I can't wait, and it's some of my best work that I've ever done in my life. A lot of people might say, and I know I'm like maybe giving a little away something here, but I may be keeping you more in the mystery. But some people will be like, "Oh man, that's just like too fucking crazy." In fact, I had a dude in the music business, a major dude in the music business, trying to wanting to go into business with me. When I told him what I was doing, he told me it was career suicide.
Oh no!
And it's the craziest thing he's ever heard of, and it's just too crazy. And I'm like, well, then I'm definitely doing it, right? So I mean, it inspired me to
next diamond, right?
I'm actually gonna do this now. Now that I know that somebody in the business, the industry thinking mind, because I don't think like that. I think like the artist, And if you think too and dude, it's an easy disease to catch, man. It's I often refer to it as like. You ever seen the movie Apocalypto?
Yep.
Ever Mel Gibson directed a movie, and it's all for people who haven't seen it. It's all in subtitles. It's about family and the Mayans, right?
Yep.
And they're in a tribe, but there's a moment where the son and the dad and a bunch of buddies have been out hunting, and they come across this group of people who have been like really tattered and torn and bruised, and you can tell they're in a bad way, and they're walking back to their village, and the son is like he's concerned with what he's seen, and the father's like, "Here is a sickness, do not let it creep into your heart and taint your soul and bring it into our," and I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, "Don't bring that shit into our village. Leave that shit where you saw it," And like a lot of people are afraid of things. And when you're in the business mindset, it's an easy disease to catch to as an artist to start thinking like a music industry mindset, of music as a product.
Start
Music,
trying to write a hit instead of trying to write a song.
You can do that. It's totally okay. You should want to make things that you enjoy, because if you enjoy it, chances are somebody else is going to enjoy it. And if you do it that way, then you're almost like guaranteed for success, because you're not. And when you think too hard, it's like you're trying. I see it in like Lifetime movies and shit. It's like these people are trying too hard to sell people emotions. Whereas if you just gave them the emotion, they would feel it, And I see. I've heard it in music plenty of times, and to me, the only music that really rings true, and if you look at it historically, it's the artists who like put their soul into what they did, and they connected to the channel that it was theirs, and they made the music that they knew they had to make. And that's what I've always tried to do. Not always. I have occasionally along the way gotten in that little bit of a business mindset of like, I got to make songs for people to enjoy, But it's never like stuck. It's all. I've always come back to the man. I'm just doing this shit because I enjoy fucking doing it. I like wearing my pajamas. I like hearing these beats. I like recording these words and hearing them come back to me. Like when I first started, we did the shit on a karaoke machine where it was like we took cassette singles of rap songs that had the instrumental on the B side.
Yeah.
In there, and then we put a blank tape on the recording side of the karaoke machine. This is like late 90s, and so we're like recording our own songs, making up our own words that make us laugh. Hey man, what's another funny word for vagina? Okay, cooter. Yeah, okay.
You know how many songs I wrote for the Gangster Paradise beat?
Yeah. Gangster Paradise, we did nothing but a G-Thing, Great Egg,
Gin and Juice,
bunch of shit. But it was always like, let me just make something that is funny to me and makes us laugh. We're doing it on a karaoke machine. Who the fuck is going to hear this but us? We weren't concerned with the world out there. We were just concerned with doing something that entertained us for the creation of making something that entertained us.
Yeah.
If you
concerned with the audience, what audience?
Yeah, right. But then go give it to them,
Yeah.
And if they like it, cool. If they don't like it, cool. At least you still made something that you enjoyed. And that's kind of what I'm doing with this thing right here. When people tell me it's suicide, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm making something I like. If people like it, cool. If they don't like it, cool. That's fine by me too. I don't really care. This is what I know I'm supposed to be doing. And that's that. I don't know what else to tell you. You go do whatever you're supposed to do, and I'll do what I'm supposed to do. How about that?
I have a 2-part question for the Lizard Man.
2 parts.
Give me
2
parts. I'm gonna go get a refresher beverage.
I get a refresher beverage.
The country that worships.
Mesopotamia.
Yeah. How you
Mesopotamia.
You were gonna ask it.
No,
How do you say it?
Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia.
Yes. Have you heard of them?
I've heard of Mesopotamia. Yeah, it's an important part of human history and development. But what about it?
So there was people that actually worship beings they thought were half lizard, half human.
Well, there's reptilians, and this is I've often mentioned this before. Is that one of the reasons that the reptilian theme appeals to me is not just visually, aesthetically. It's got so many other elements to it that I can draw from, and part of that is that there's not a culture in the world that doesn't have some form of reptilian presence in it, whether it be actual, lizard man, like human reptile hybrids. You get that in the, they say Mesopotamia. You get that in Central America. You get it basically, through different parts of history all over the world and in different forms. So there's when I look at it, as I say, when I thought about this on different levels, like as an artist, one of the things that I thought was really sort of the potential for doing this was that the reptilian imagery and just reptilians as a concept, they strike at a very basic portion of our brains. Like we have an instinctual reaction to reptiles. And if you look at what they represent in different cultures, right, there's other animals you can do this for too. Like, look, eagles. Doesn't matter where you go in history of the world, eagles are usually a symbol of power, right? So there's a very common thread where human beings in different parts of history and different parts of the world, different cultures, have recognized animals. A similar thing with reptiles. There's reptilians in pretty much every mythology that's out there. And it, depending on how far you want to stretch it, you've got the world serpent in Norse mythology. You've got the serpent in the Garden of Eden, right? You've got reptilian airlines and shapeshifters, even in modern days, because that's what a lot of people would say that conspiracy theories were sort of modern mythology, right? Aliens often get this sort of look. When you want something to be scary in sci-fi, or where do you go to? Dragons, right? And dragon men and dragon kind. That's why I was mentioned before, is that when I was called Lizardman on Ripley's Believe It or Not, it's not just the fact of the exposure, it's that is so graspable of a concept, right? I didn't create Lizardman and have to explain, a Lizardman is like if a man was part man and part lizard, or if a humanoid had evolved from a lizard. I didn't have to explain any of that, right? People already got that existed. I just became the living embodiment of it, which for me is one of those things I used to do when I was doing performance art at college. I was like, look, it's great to make art. I love making art. I love making pieces of art. But what if I could be the art? Yeah. I am the art. I am literally the concept. I am this idea that has existed in cultures and mythologies throughout all of human history, a reptilian humanoid, and here I am.
Yeah. Right?
So let me nerd out for a minute. You're like the human reptile from Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat, which actually that is one of my inspirations too. I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan. I've been playing since the arcade machines day one. I've played every single one in the series. Right now, I'm playing MK1. It's in my daily rotation of games. If I get on my PS, I get some time on the PS5. There I am.
You know who I know, and I should connect you with. If you're a huge fan, I'm sure he would love to connect with you. What's his name? Fuck. His name is escaping me right now. Let me look on here. He's the dude that did the original voice of Mortal Kombat. He's big TikToker.
Wow. You need to link me up because my group's next project is Mortal Kombat themed.
Oh yeah.
He's like a super Kyle Wyatt. A-Y-L-E.
Mortal Kombat.
The original voice of Mortal Kombat, dude. He's come on like multiple of my lives on TikTok.
Wow, cool.
He's a cool ass dude, man. Super inspirational. You should follow him if you're on TikTok. I think he's on Instagram too, or wherever. But he's a super cool cat, man. Tell him.
I mean, I started off with it. It used to be so. It was my junior year in college. Me and my roommate. There was a little grocery store that was just right down the hill from the house we lived in. And they had a Mortal Kombat 1 when it first came out. It was out in the little lobby area of the little grocery store. And I'd go in there with like $5 and I'd buy a $1 2-liter of soda, 99 cents, 99-cent no brand name 2-liter, and then these off-brand Twinkies that were like giant Twinkies, but there were 6 of them in a pack for 99 cents. And then the other $2 I would use to play Mortal Kombat. I would just run that machine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. I remember the arcade. I missed the old arcade days.
We had another one. There was a movie theater that had an arcade next to it in Bartlett where I lived. And it was probably 2 miles from my house. And I remember walking there multiple times to go fucking play Mortal Kombat, bro. Like, I was homeschooled, so I could, if I got my fucking shit done early, I would just dip out, man. I was a pretty self-sufficient teenager, early teens. So that was like my thing, man, going up there and fucking playing Mortal Kombat in the afternoons.
I had a job at a warehouse, and it was when Mortal Kombat 2 came out, and that's my lunch hour. I would go, the warehouse was across the street from a mall. I'd go over to the mall, get a slice of pizza, play Mortal Kombat, and then just barely, so I had a buddy that I worked with too. So if he wanted to go to the mall, he'd jump in his truck, and we'd usually smoke a joint on the way over there, get a slice, play, and come back. But
what was the other one? Unreal Fighter.
Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct. Maybe it was Killer Instinct.
There's Killer Instinct and Street Fighter are the other two big ones of that era.
Bro, it's crazy you just said that.
He was like the old Japanese dude with the gray hair and the gray beard, and he like did all them fucking weird little moves.
That sounds like Street Fighter. Sounds like you might meet a Akuma.
No, it wasn't Street Fighter. It was like
Tekken. Oh,
No.
Soul Calibur.
No, it was. I don't remember it being in like video games. It was only in the arcade. I'm pretty sure it was called Unreal Fighter. That's what I had in my head. Let me look it up.
It's funny you said that because tomorrow or Sunday night I do my podcast, and this week we're doing retro video games, and we're talking about our favorite games. And Mortal Kombat's my number one of the Super Nintendo era.
Yeah, I actually bought a Super Nintendo. My roommate and I bought a Super Nintendo, and the only game we had was Mortal Kombat. It was the Mortal Kombat machine. It wasn't even a game console at that point. Played one game in it, and yeah, that was my senior year of college. And yeah, I get every glitch, all the codes, and yeah, because you had the blood where you had to have the code to get it to be red. Otherwise, it was brown. Came out. Look like you're beating the sand out of them.
I still remember some of the finishing moves, like Scorpion was R up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you remember that's the source of the Johnny Cage multiple heads.
Yep.
On that one, yeah, you could do that. Just keep repeating it, and he just keep knocking heads off them, which Janet Cage does in MK1.
So part two to that question.
Part two. Oh shit, that's right. There's a 2-part question.
So if time travel was real and you could go back to one of these civilizations, the way you are right now, do you think they would try to worship you as a god?
Oh, I don't even think it needs to be one of those civilizations that already look, I'm coming from the future. I have time travel. They all better worship me as a fucking god. Otherwise, I'll travel to before they were born and fuck them up. All right, look, I've got time travel. It doesn't matter who you are. You better start worshiping.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So
actually, that's not true. If I've got time travel, it's just you better stop being a dick, because being a dick now is going to hurt you in the past.
Oh yeah.
I don't need to be worshipped, but I will do some preemptive karma.
I wanted to ask this question last interview. I didn't know if it was appropriate, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Anything's appropriate.
So, how many women have walked up to you in a bar and just they just want to have fun because of your tongue?
It's not like I keep count, but it's more than 0.
That's okay.
It actually, I mean, it doesn't happen as much as it used to, but it happens. It's almost like I feel there's actually I was in Australia in Adelaide doing this festival, French festival there, and I actually felt bad for the girl, and I say girl because she couldn't have been out of her 20s. She's probably, I'm going to guess that she was like 19 or 20. And she was just doing that thing that some people do where they just aggressively flirt with everybody around them. Like, apparently they're just in love with the entire room and they're way too fucking loud about it. But at the festival, outside the tent, my ticket taker and I are just basically stuck in this one position. Everybody else is moving around. So it's like, okay, crazy bitch, we don't have to pay attention to you. Right. So but we're standing there. And so she's just, she'll go away and then she'll come back. It just keeps coming back and flirting. And of course, we're both, fed up with her bullshit from the time she started walking up. So we're giving her nothing. But that's why I was like, yeah, I kind of feel bad. But I was like, oh, you've got a split tongue. And I was like, great. Now she's never going to shut up and go away.
Oh man.
So in the Mortal Kombat universe from now until then, or from then until now, who's your favorite character?
Oh, it's Reptile. I'm good. I'm as stereotypical and as cliched as you want.
It's crazy his of the way he's evolved.
Yeah, and here's the thing for me is that in MK1, Reptile is my main, and he's definitely who I'm best with right now because I put the most effort. But this version of him is one of the best versions for sort of my play style. That was it. But when Reptile first became a playable character, I was so excited because I knew it was coming. Back then you had to read magazines. Yes, I read magazines about upcoming arcade games, right? Because that's a nerd, and I was so excited. But when
he was basically just a green scorpion.
Yeah, but his early playable versions with the at least in the arcade machines with the force balls, because that's where he first starts playing that did not fit my style. So my main before that was Sub-Zero, and it's in fact in most versions of Mortal Kombat, I'm far better with Sub-Zero than I am with Reptile, because Reptile just doesn't fit his moveset doesn't fit my play style.
This is the guy I was talking about. He's
he's
Ninja Master.
Primal Rage.
Primal Rage.
Oh, nice.
Oh, Primal Rage. Yeah, that was a dope game.
I remember that one. Yep.
Yeah, Primal Rage and Killer Instinct were both good.
Dude, he was a cool character. I loved him.
Muck Sticky, new radio drop. I'm gonna have you do a shout out.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Let me know
for Underground Wicked Radio. Shouting out DJ Snars, Easy 606, and the Lizardman. I want this in the radio drop.
DJ Snars.
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 DJ Stars.
DJ Snickle Fritz.
Oh, there we go. A new video.
We got an album called Snickle.
Snickle Fritz.
Hey, Snickers, I think me and old Muck's gonna have to link up.
Hell yeah. I'll send you. Oh, I got email.
I'm in a real creative spot right now. Like my next project I'm doing, I'm stepping outside the box, and every song that I've recorded for it so far is different from what I've been recording for the last, 10 years.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of new comedy stuff now, like on TikTok and stuff. So I think a comedy type feel good song would be crazy.
Hell yeah. Do a lip sync to Fuck Off, man. That'll go viral for it. Fucking just about everybody does that, man. It gets fucking fears. But yeah, I'm totally down to do that. That sounds like fun. So you want me to do individual drops for each one of y'all? Is that what you're saying?
No, just one single one, and I'll put it in rotation with some of your new music on the radio. Okay. Go for it.
Yo, what up? It's Muck Sticky, and you are listening to Underground Wicked Radio with DJ Snickers, DJ Stars, and Easy 606. Oh, yeah, baby.
Links.
What's that?
Say some links. The YouTube links, Instagram.
Like mine?
Yep.
Or yours?
Yep. Yours.
Let's see. Check me out on mucksticky.com, bitch.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Google me, bitch.
Yeah,
he's got a song that says that.
There you go.
It's funny. I say that all the time when somebody asks you for your links. I'm like, Google me.
Throw this in there. Or you can just Google me, bitch.
Oh yeah, perfect. Lizardman.
All right.
How about a new radio drop?
I need a sound clipping of him saying that. I'm gonna start using it.
I'll give it to you.
Just Google me, bitch. All right, you ready?
Go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and cats, birds and squirrels, it doesn't matter who you are or what you are. You need to be listening to Underground Wicked Radio with DJ Stars, DJ Snickers, and of course, Easy 606. Take it from the Lizardman.
Hell yeah, perfect. I got your old one in rotation. I'll change that up.
Cool.
Yeah. So, we got any more questions before we hop off?
Man, I'm wide open. Man, let me know. Man.
I got some for Muck Sticky. Let me see, man. I've talked about your hat in the past. I've put clips up online. I've had a few people ask me recently how you got your orange hat and why you use that in a lot of your videos. There it is.
Right there. Yep. And it's so old that that's where it stays because it's fragile condition. It's made out of real thin foam, It's just a party hat I found after a Halloween party at this chick's apartment one night. And somebody had left it sitting in the corner, and I was like, That'd be cool. I was fixing to be playing this Battle of the Bands thing coming up in January. And I was like, that'd be cool to, like, you know, but this was when I was still in my idea stage, plotting and planning my character look, you know, and I was like, that'd be cool to add to my show. And I was gonna wear like this big jacket and stuff. And so I started wearing it at that show, and it stuck. People loved it. It was, you know, it kind of stood out from everything else that was going on at the time in Memphis. Most of it was just either rap music or hard rock. But there wasn't any other comedy artists. There's maybe like one or two other people that were doing something sort of in the neighborhood of comedy, but it wasn't really like comedy. It was just like weird alternative stuff, right? So, you know, we started playing shows. The first show I did was the Battle of the Bands, and I won second place that night. And then I came back for the finals, and this judge disqualified me because she said I wasn't a real band. I had like, you know, I made all my tracks myself. I would like make drum loops. I would record drum tracks. I would record guitar and all this stuff. And then when it came time to play a show, it was just me. So I would just have a track playing. And so she disqualified me, said I wasn't a real band. And I met my little buddy Hollywood that night, and he was like, "Hey man, I got this wrestling show at the New Daisy, and you should come and like play some music in between wrestling matches. We're gonna maybe like I'll get like a rap group and another band or something." So we started doing those shows, and that first one there was like 600 people there, and we just started doing shows regularly every 6 or 8 weeks for several years there, and the hat just kind of stuck as the logo. But recently, you know, because it's been unwearable for such a long time, and I've been wearing this little gem of a number for the last several years, just regularly around, I decided to retire that one as the logo and make this one the official logo hat. And I've since added all these various buttons on there. You know, some of them are like, you know, there's like a Muck Sticky button on the front. Got pot. These are all buttons I've collected over my years. We got a raw rolling tray. I just recently purchased the Sharon Lois and Bramlin. That was from a water park in Memphis that I used to work at when I was a teenager. My nickname was Mutt.
Nice.
We got ketchup bottles, Grateful Dead. We got Donnie being released from the Folgers can from Big Lebowski.
Oh wow!
Poster on the skids, a vote for Pedro. So you know,
hello, my name is Borat. I like sexy.
I like six. Mm-hmm. So I got a line in the remix of Thingy Thing, my song Thingy Thing that I do at the live shows, and it's the third verse goes, "Well, my name is Muck Sticky. I like sex. Very nice. Yes, yes, yes." So when I do that part, I always turn around and point to the back of my hat. Shout out Borat.
Yeah. Shout out to Borat.
Yeah.
Not the guy I've been making fun of lately, the janky promoter that I know who looks identical to Borat.
He does, man. I saw the video.
Did you see that picture I posted, that meme I posted?
I did, man. I can't believe they wouldn't let Wicked Ways into the show.
It's all right. Fuck that guy.
Excuse me.
You're good. So have you guys ever? Oh man, that'd be horrible. So have you guys ever ran into janky promoters?
I mean, I've only got. I say this with pride. I'm literally just looking at the photographs. There's only one dude who's truly like still fucking owes me, but like just like to the point where it's the classic story of and Muck knows of my old buddy Scott, who was my stage assistant security. He's Dr. Grift in the show, but it was right after I first moved from New York down to Texas, and he was still living up in Albany, New York, and we met up in Buffalo to do this show. And by the end of the night, we had to take the guy who got me up there. Like we took him outside and took everything in his pockets, and we're like, okay, fuck this, because we both had to get going. Like I had to go to the airport to get on a flight, like a 5 a.m. flight, and he had to drive 5 hours back across the state, and we were like, well, we ain't leaving here with nothing.
Oh wow!
And so we got $145 off him, and we're like, don't ever let me see you again, and left.
Wow.
You want to hear a wild story that was the result of a janky promoter?
Yes.
They were one of the wildest stories of my life. You got 5 or 10 minutes? So we got booked to play this marijuana music awards thing in like 2006 or 2007, somewhere in there. This is in Brooklyn, New York. And I lived in Memphis, Tennessee. Me and my brother band Bonsai, they were talking to mofos at the time. We had all driven up there 15 hours to get to New York City, right? And we get there on Thursday night at like 2 a.m. We check into our hotel, middle of the night. And the promoter, the original promoters were from Australia, but they had hired a local Brooklyn-based promoter to like hire the bands, book the hotel rooms, get the sound guy, all that shit, right? So we get to our hotel room's not paid for, it's just reserved, but they still let us check in anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go the next day. We went into like New York City. I took my mom with me and my DJ and my little buddy Hollywood. We went to New York City, went to High Times office and saw the Statue of Liberty, all this stuff, Ground Zero, everything. And we go back to our hotel, stay that Friday night. We get up Saturday and we go to the venue. And we get there and there's no sound. And the promoter's there and the Australian people are there. They're an older couple. And I'm like, hey, our hotel room's not paid for. Can you come back to our hotel room and pay for it? They're telling us we got to pay for it, right? And so it's like $1,200 that we didn't have. And so we go. The older couple gets into our car, and I drive my van, my Muck Sticky van. We drive them back to the hotel. They go to swipe their credit card. It's declined, and they'd given the shit to this local promoter guy to do all this shit with, right? And we go back to the venue and he's gone. Janky promoter gone. They have an address for him. We go to that address. It's like not even a real address. It's like a vacant lot next to a convenience store, right?
Oh no.
And so we give up on trying to find him and getting our money's worth, you know what I mean? And we get back to our hotel at like midnight, and our fucking hotel room doors are locked, okay? And they won't let us in until we pay this fucking bill. So I called one of my Memphis people, Mike Glenn, guy ran the New Daisy Theater in Memphis, great guy, fucking paid our bill for us so we could get back in our rooms and shit with his credit card. And we go out into Brooklyn, or we go out into Times Square because the mofo guys had never been. And super long story, we got stuck under the river for 45 minutes going in with no clue what was going on. Walls on either side of the doors just stopped for 45 minutes in the middle of the night. Get to Times Square. One of the dudes wants to get one of those caricature drawings of himself. So that takes a fucking hour. And then when we finally get back to Brooklyn, we had driven like 10 blocks and gotten on the train to go over the river to get to the city. So we get off the subway, we get back in our rental cars, and we're driving back. I'm in the back seat on the passenger side. My mom's in the front seat. Little Hollywood's in the middle. DJ's in the driver's back seat. Keela from Taco and the Mofos is driving. We go to get over in the left lane. It's a one-way street, and there's a dude in a black Bronco. And there's two cars, two of us, right? There's a dude in a black Bronco speeding really fast, and we almost hit him, but he squeals tires, we squeal tires. He then pulls over in front of us, gets out, starts walking to our car, and this dude looks like almost identical to Debo from Friday.
Oh, wow.
With his fucking nostrils snarling, and like he just walks up to our car and starts yanking on the fucking door handle, and we're like, dude, we're sorry. We're slowly creeping in reverse, and we bump into the car behind us.
No.
The other group of guys that were with us, we just kind of like tap their bumper, and I'm like, and then the dude starts doing this shit right here, like reaching for something behind in his back waistline, and I'm like, Keela, this motherfucker is fixing to shoot us all. Step on the fucking gas and run his ass over. So he throws it in a drive and steps on the gas and throws the dude to the ground. We squeal tires. He jumps up, gets in his blazer, and starts chasing us at 100 miles an hour through the streets of Brooklyn at 4 o'clock in the morning. We're going in McDonald's. He is never more than a car length behind us. Never. I'm on the phone with 911. She's like, where are you, sir? And I'm like, I have no fucking idea where I am. I'm from Memphis. Tell the cops to look for the high-speed chase. The ones in the front. So we finally pull up to this intersection where there's like medians that kind of like go all the way out to the intersection, like the cross streets like this, and there's medians, and there's a red light, and there's 3 cars in the left lane, no cars in the right lane. We're coming up fucking 60 miles an hour in the right lane. The light's red, and right before we get there, it turns green, and I'm like, left. And so he fishtails in front of these cars. They haven't even started to go yet. We cross the intersection and get back going the opposite direction. And the dude was just far enough behind us to where after we got past, those cars started to go. And he kind of got tangled up a little bit. And then the other cars that were coming the opposite direction, they started to go. So he was all tangled up in that. We come down, we take a left, we take a right. I'm in that back passenger seat. I'm looking. We're passing the house, and I never saw his car. And then we just started taking rights and lefts and right, man. Getting deeper into the neighborhoods. And we finally got back to our hotel, and I told the cops where we were staying, and I said, because we were going to meet them there. And they're like, y'all are lucky to be alive. What the fuck are you doing out in the middle of the fucking night? You know, you get in your fucking hotel. Go back home. So that was all the result of a janky promoter promising us $1,200 and paid for hotel rooms, giving us neither one of them. And we
wow.
Hey, Muck.
$1,000 in the hole and
wow.
And traumatized for life. My mom was severely traumatized.
There's that janky promoter.
It looks more like when he's Bruno. It's Bruno.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, Bruno. Yep.
Bruno with a mustache.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's mad now because we put him on blast. So the last 2 or 3 shows that my crew were on, they were on the show, but my music partner is the one that he doesn't like, and he's scared to death of him. So he's banned him from all the shows. So my music partner shows up with tickets trying to get into the show, and they won't even let him through the front door.
Damn. Yep. Well, where is this so I know to stay away from him?
Springfield, Missouri.
Okay. What venues?
They're called, his company's called Spring Good.
Okay.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, his name's Yo.
Still there?
Yeah, he's one of the ones, Johan.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Outland just closed down though. They just sold and closed down.
Yeah, they sold and changed to something else.
Yeah, and they shut down.
Okay.
Now everybody down there is going to a place called I think it's called the Regency or the Regent or something like that.
Okay. Because we always did well in Springfield, so we thought about
Springfield's dope because it's a college town.
Yeah, we thought about rolling back through there toward this fall when we start touring the Midwest.
Get at my partner. He books shows.
Okay. Yeah.
And he does well. He does well in that.
Let him know if he's interested. Tell him to hit me up through mucksticky.com. Just shoot me an email. I'll send him a package and everything. We can maybe get some shit cooking.
Hell yeah.
I got food ready, so I'm gonna have. This has been an absolute blast. I've loved chatting with y'all.
Hell yeah.
Yep. We're gonna hop off too. Any shout outs you guys want to do before we hop off?
Shout out to Muck Sticky.
Yeah, I was about to say, shout out to the Lizard Man. Thank y'all for setting this up. This was too dope.
This is a good time, man. Thank you. Yeah, good time
I
talking to you guys.
doing other interviews right now because I want to wait till after this thing gets announced. But when you were like, "Man, you're doing it with the Lizard Man," I was like, "Dude, I cannot fucking pass this up."
It was your idea,
man. And dude, let's make the 22nd,
July 22nd. July 22nd. Got it in the phone, man.
Music video.
Do we have each other's phone numbers? Do I have your phone number?
I think I've got it. I mean, mine literally hasn't changed since we toured in 2003. So
text me. I'm pretty sure I still got you, but just text me and we'll.
Yeah.
I actually have it written down in my contacts too in my book from back then. Yep.
Where are you located at? Are you in Springfield too?
No, I'm in Northern Kentucky.
You're northern. Okay, you're Northern Kentucky.
About 15 minutes from Cincinnati, Covington.
Okay, right on. Well,
So if you do anything in like Cincinnati, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, Louisville, Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, Covington, that's all my area.
Yeah, I hate you missed Covington, man. It was such a fucking fun show. Yeah, I got you. So, man, we'll be back again soon. Like I said, maybe we can link up and you guys can do some shows. We can do some shows together. It'd be fun.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, fellas. Y'all be good. Be grand.
Right.
Later, brother.
Underground Wicked Radio out. Everyone have a good night. Thank you, Lizardman. Thank you, Muck Sticky. It was nice chopping it up with both of you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everyone have a good night.
You
Watch for that Lizardman and Muck Sticky music video. I'm waiting for it.